Our clients need to have both a parachute and a gentle landing spot. They may not be in a position to convince themselves, their family members, or their business partners to immediately jump out of the plane. However, they can have the peace of mind of knowing they have the ability to do so at any time. Now let's look at some examples of the types of clients who may come to us seeking a parachute. Any physical resemblance to persons living or dead is purely intentional. Our first composite client is a U.S. fund manager. Let's look at the 4 areas of concern that we previously discussed. To control global taxation, our American client should implement a personal and corporate structure which takes into account the fact that their income and capital gain streams flow from global sources. The most significant tax savings can be achieved if our clients implement a full expatriation strategy. Although viewed as extreme, record numbers of Americans are expatriating. Our clients may not now or ever decide to implement this strategy, but adding this arrow to their quiver of options will allow them to quickly execute with a minimum of disruption should they ever decide to take this step. Our clients operate on a global scale. They should give themselves and their families the ability to have the right to live or work in their favorite countries. In order to do this, the client should acquire citizenship in trade blocs which are important to them. These include NAFTA, the EU, Mercosur, and ASEAN regions. They should be careful that the citizenships they acquire do not have unfavorable attributes, such as automatic taxation, military service, or the requirement to give up all other citizenships. In other words, they must have dual citizenship. For our American client, having a passport which allows visa-free re-entry into the United States makes implementing an expatriation strategy much more feasible. Finally, having more than one passport avoids disruption in personal and business travel should our clients lose or have taken away from them their original travel document. Our clients should keep in mind that the right mix of citizenships will have a profound positive effect not only on their lives, but on that of all future generations. Many of our American clients have built their entire business operations in the U.S. This is not unusual in that it is human nature to work with the familiar. Unfortunately, given government response to the fiscal crisis, they now find themselves extremely vulnerable to ill-conceived regulations such as Dodd-Frank and the wielding of arbitrary subpoena power by politically motivated prosecutors. Even if they are later vindicated and prove that the subpoena had no basis, they will spend enormous amounts of time, money, credibility, and mental energy to prove their innocence. Prudent fund managers and business people operating in industries affected by government regulations, which is to say every industry, are responding. They are setting up viable backup operations outside of the U.S. as regularly as they back up their computer hard drives. The selection of locations for these backup operations must be done in a way to ensure that they are viable and sustainable. Therefore, issues such as physical infrastructure, availability of service providers, quality and availability of local employees are as important as a favorable regulatory regime. A corporate structure which works well with the taxation and mobility strategies is also a must. As many high-profile divorcees have discovered, the best drafted prenuptial and asset protection trusts are useless if the individual has left themselves resident in a hostile legal jurisdiction. Key to a successful parachute and safe landing strategy are jurisdictions favorable in third-party or family litigation. Although there are many universal issues for wealthy people in all nations, clients from each country and each individual client have their own unique situations. Since wealthy Brazilians suffered decades of arbitrary government seizure and currency devaluation, it is quite common for them to have assets outside of Brazil which remain undisclosed to Brazilian authorities. With the current global trend of full disclosure of these types of accounts, effectively dealing with this issue is imperative. At this time, there still remains many viable strategies which could be successfully implemented. These include a combination of international structures and temporary non-residents in Brazil for tax purposes for at least one family member. Like our American clients, our Brazilian clients are very international and now view as essential the ability to ensure global access for themselves and future generations. To implement a strategy to deal with undisclosed assets, the choice of jurisdiction to become non-resident in Brazil is critical. Unlike our American clients, the reality of nationalization and hyperinflation is not in the distant past for our Brazilian clients. Therefore, international diversification of their personal and business lives is already a well-rooted concept. Our task is to make sure that it is well executed. Choosing the right regulatory and litigation regime is an essential part of that execution. Amongst China's wealthy, the Forbes curse is real. Since Forbes' first China Rich List was published in 1999, an unusually high number of listed individuals have met their financial demise. For this reason, personal and financial diversification outside of China is a major preoccupation for China's wealthiest citizens. A well-designed and operated international structure not only preserves assets and privacy, but also helps Chinese clients avoid running afoul of a new, unfamiliar force, namely efficient and effective tax collectors and security regulators from developed nations. Unlike their Western counterparts, wealthy Chinese know firsthand the difficulty of having a poor travel document. They are also much more likely to fear government repossession of their passports. As a result, most Chinese clients fully appreciate the importance of a well-constructed passport portfolio. Wealthy Chinese are discovering both the joys and sorrows of assessing public markets for their businesses. As international investors become more savvy, they will seek to invest in China only through properly regulated jurisdictions. As the sun sets on the Wild West phase of Chinese investments, our clients who establish operations and investment vehicles in jurisdictions which have respected, but not arbitrary, regulation will have a distinctive business advantage. The long-term political and economic ramifications of the Arab Spring have shaken the complacency of the wealthy. Even democracy-minded wealthy individuals know the universal truth that any country is only 4 missed meals away from revolution. And if that revolution happens, they and their families will be swept aside if they do not take steps to properly protect themselves. A necessary response to this danger is investment and diversification out of their home country. This brings with it interaction with foreign tax and securities regulators. As a result, their international structures must be compliant with these new realities, along with traditional concerns such as forced heirship rules and Sharia compliance. After several relatively quiet decades, the specter of regime change has again reared its head. Therefore, ensuring access to quality travel documents, should there be a revolution, is critical. As our Arab clients and their families move to new locations and marry outside their traditional cultures, they are encountering head-on the wealth dissipating effects of divorce. As with other wealthy clients, the combination of asset protection structures, prenuptial agreements, and connections with jurisdictions which will respect same has become critical. Our wealthy Russian and CIS clients share many of the attributes and concerns of our Brazilian, Chinese, and Arab clients. As a result, they must integrate financial structure, passport portfolio, and a business and personal residence strategy. This will allow them to enjoy a high standard of living while minimizing the potential impact of taxation, nationalization, litigation, and divorce. For the wealthy, passport portfolio planning combined with asset diversification, tax and asset protection structures, and diversification of their residence and business operations is essential. Change occurs so quickly that a proper parachute and landing zone strategy must be in place before the plane begins to dive. Tax lawyers, private bankers, family offices, and passport portfolio advisors must collaborate and coordinate their efforts in devising, executing, and revising these strategies. If this is done well, we not only preserve our clients' wealth and well-being, but greatly enhance it. If done poorly, the resulting devastation is catastrophic.